Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya with another video, and I'm going to start it off in 2nd Esdras chapter 15 in the Apocrypha, verses 5 to 6. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. We're living in the last seconds of the last days before the second coming of Yahawashi Hamashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven under the children of Israel, who are known as the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans today. But before that can be established, this current world or age of the rulership of the heathen nations, chiefly of the biblical Edomites, who are known as the so-called white people, must come to an end. And it is coming to an end. And as it said, the Lord is bringing plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, to punish the wicked for all the iniquity they've been committing on this planet. And at the head of that iniquity are these Edomites. As it says in Job chapter 9, verse 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. These Edomites do everything clean contrary to the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi, hence why this planet is engulfed in wickedness. But in this video, I'm going to be going into a few clips showing the plagues that Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi is bringing onto this planet for the wickedness these people have been committing. Again, chiefly the Edomites. And these clips will be dealing with severe droughts and heat waves that are taking place in Europe, which are going to lead to a whole host of issues. Farmers not being able to plant or cultivate a significant amount of crops, which is going to lead to what? Famines and death, and as well as a lot of shipping and trade that are done by particular rivers in Europe not being able to take place, which is going to lead to empty store shelves and further issues in the supply chains. But the first clip I'll be going to is on Wyon's YouTube page, and the title reads, Wyon Climate Tracker, Europe suffers prolonged drought, major rivers drying up. And this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this video, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
Record-breaking summer temperatures and multiple heat waves have left Europe's essential waterways drained. Across Europe, prolonged drought is rapidly drying up major rivers in the continent. Parts of the continent have not received proper rainfall for almost 2 months. Meteorologists say the drought could become the continent's worst in more than 500 years. Officials have warned that without effective mitigation, the intensity and frequency of droughts will only increase dramatically in the region.
And you've also got severe droughts going on in the western half of the United States of America, and rivers and waterways drying up, which is going to lead to a lot of these dams that are hydropowered or powered by water being their efficiency being sufficiently cut, or turning off, which is going to lead to what? Blackouts, power shortages. And as we'll see, similar issues are facing Europe. And what does America and Europe have in common? They're the main dwelling places of the Edomites. Again, Yahweh Bahasham Yahawashi is bringing these plagues, these judgments on you Edomites for all the wickedness you've been committing.
Take a look at some of the major rivers that are under threat and how it can impact the continent. Now, a vital part of Northwest Europe's economy for centuries, the Rhine flows from Switzerland through Germany before reaching the North Sea. Water levels of the Rhine River fell dangerously low due to a prolonged drought in Germany. The water level dropped below 40 centimeters in Coab. The 40 centimeter level is considered necessary for transportation along the river. However, the level fell to 38 centimeters. Federal Waterways Authority's forecast suggests the water levels can fall further next week. A drop by 10 to 15 centimeters is estimated. Now, this has restricted distribution of coal, petrol, wheat, and other commodities amid a looming energy crisis in Europe. Several German companies depend on the Rhine River for their supply of fuel. Companies have been forced to reduce the load of ships, and switching to railways or roadways is proving difficulty.
And remember that Europe is already gripped with an energy crisis due to them putting sanctions on Russia over their war in Ukraine, and Russia heavily restricting sending food commodities and energy sources to Europe in retaliation. But as I just said, due to the Rhine River's levels dropping, they're not able to ship the sufficient amount of goods and other supplies that they would want to. This is 2 Esdras chapter 6 verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. These different places that receive these goods, being found empty because they're not able to have those goods delivered to them. In this case, due to droughts leading to river levels dropping, so companies that heavily rely on those rivers for delivery are not able to deliver those goods to the storehouses.
Now, rivers in France might not be crucial from an economic perspective, but they help cool the nuclear plants that produce 70% of the country's electricity. Prolonged drought, low water levels, and high temperatures imply that the nuclear plants will have to cut down on output. In France, strict rules govern how far nuclear plants can raise river temperatures when they discharge cooling water. So if the rivers are overheated, the plants are left with no choice but to reduce production. With Europe reeling under an imminent energy crisis, France's authorities have allowed 5 plants to break these rules. Now, Italy's longest river Po.
It's looking like this winter that's coming up may just be that dark winter we've been hearing people talk about for the past couple of years. Again, the Lord bringing those plagues, bringing death and destruction, power outages, blackouts, people freezing to death, the list goes on and on.
Po has also been impacted. Water levels are lower by 2 meters than usual. The Po Valley in Italy accounts for nearly 40% of Italy's agricultural production. However, rice growers in the area have been warning that they might lose a significant amount of their crop.
The Po River accounts for over 40% of Italy's agricultural production. And if these droughts persist, what's that going to lead to? Those crops not being able to be planted in sufficient amounts or cultivated in sufficient amounts, which is going to lead to what? Food shortages, famines. Again, another one of the plagues the Lord is bringing for the punishment of the wicked. Back in 2 Esdras chapter 6 verse 22, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, these croplands, crops not being able to be sown due to droughts and water shortages.
Temperatures are drying out paddy fields and crops are spoiled by seawater sucked in by the low river water levels. In the protected wetlands of the river's delta near Venice, water's oxygen content has also reduced to the extent that a lot of clams growing there are being killed. Now, across the English Channel, the source of the River Thames in Gloucestershire has dried up. The river source has shifted more than 5 miles downstream. One of the mightiest rivers in the continent is now struggling to find free-flowing water. England suffered its driest July since 1935, as the country received 75% less rainfall than average. Parts of England and Wales are now in the middle of an extreme heat alert. Prolonged hot and dry weather conditions have already caused a drought in 8 areas of central, southern, and eastern England.
That's it with my first clip. Now I'm gonna go to my second clip, also on Wyon. The UK declares drought in parts of England. Drought poses a risk of crop failure in the UK, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. And again, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily.
Waves and wildfires ravage across Europe. The United Kingdom has formally declared a drought in parts of England. Amidst water shortage, a risk of power outages and also crop failures looming across the United Kingdom. Now, England is said to be suffering from its driest summer season since the July of 1935, as the country has received only about 75% lesser rainfall than average. The parts of England and Wales are now in the middle of a 4-day extreme heat alert. Prolonged hot and dry weather conditions have already caused a drought in 8 areas of central, southern and eastern England. The source of the River Thames is also dried up further downstream than ever before, and the British government has urged the public and the businesses of drought-hit areas to use water wisely. Water companies will now enact pre-agreed drought plans to preserve water supplies. The National Drought Group has said that it has made it clear to the water companies of England that it is their duty to maintain essential water supplies. Now, so far, hosepipe bans have been implemented by the United Kingdom's Southern Water and South East Water. The Welsh Water has said that it will implement water restrictions from the 19th of August, and Yorkshire Water will impose hosepipe bans from the 26th of August. Meanwhile, the Thames Water has said that it does not plan to impose a hosepipe ban, which was expected from next week. The bans will forbid the British residents from using hoses to water their gardens, wash cars, and also to fill up paddling pools.
Hey, things are getting so severe that they're talking about water restrictions. Back in 2nd Esdras chapter 6, I'm read the verse 24. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. And what could lead friends fighting against one another like enemies? Food shortages. And the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Hey, the use of water being heavily restricted or being cut off completely. Hey, this is talking about future prophecies, but as we can see, hey, we're in the beginning stages of it right now. And as these droughts intensify and these water levels decrease, what are you going to see more of? Restrictions to water use to try to conserve water. Hey, the springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run.
I just get annoyed it happens.
And also, the elites can manufacture blackouts, power shortages, or cutting off the water just to create chaos out here. To what? Bring that order out of. Ordo ab chaos. You people are so desperate to go back to your creature comforts or some semblance of normalcy that you'll do anything you can to get it. And the elites can much more easily get you to follow after their dictates. They give up your rights and ultimately receive the charagma, the MARKOFTHEBEAST in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18, which is the RFID/NFC MICROCHIPIMPLANT. Hey, what did Klaus Schwab say? You will own nothing and be happy.
Every time we get any hot weather, and then they tell us not to, sort of water our plants or watch the water and everything like that, and they're not fixing the problem with the drains or the leaks everywhere.
But the ongoing drought in the United Kingdom is putting electricity generation under pressure. Electricity from hydropower, which uses water to generate power, has dropped by almost about 20% overall. And nuclear facilities that are cooled using river water, are also facing some serious challenges. Now, high temperatures have also hit energy output from fossil, nuclear and solar sources in the United Kingdom, because power plants and solar panels work less efficiently in high temperatures. Now, in addition to the power output in the United Kingdom, drought has also dealt a blow to the agricultural sector, and data from National Drought Group's document shows concerning figures about the state of farming in larger England.
Massive concern is that if it doesn't rain sufficiently to fill our chalk aquifers and let the rivers flow, that we're not going to be able to fill these reservoirs for next growing season, at which point we'll have to make some very difficult decisions as to what quantity of crops we plant next year.
Now, half of the potato crop is expected to fail as it cannot be irrigated, and even crops that are usually drought tolerant, such as maize, have been failing. Losses of anywhere from 10 to 50% are expected for crops including carrots, onions, and sugar. The farmers are deciding.
Losses are suspected to be from anywhere to 10 to 50%. Hey, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown.
Whether to drill crops for next year, and there are some serious concerns that many will decide against it due to the losses. Beyond is now aware.
Hey, everything works in a vicious circle. These droughts lead to rivers drying up, which leads to what? Agricultural plants not being able to be planted or cultivated, shipping of goods not being able to take place, which leads to what? Emptier store shelves, supply chain disruptions, food shortages, famines, ultimately the judgment of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. This is 2 Esdras chapter 16. I'm going to read verses 22 to 23. For many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. Hey, a lot of people are going to be judged and put to death by famines. And if you escape the famines, starving to death, you only can look forward to being killed by the sword. Civil unrest taking place in these different countries due to food shortages, power outages, droughts, just people going against their governments because they see that they're not for their best interest. Hey, people invading each other's houses due to the lack of food. As it says in 2 Esdras chapter 15, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the force of the sword due to the lack of bread. People getting drafted to go fight in World War III. The list goes on. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. So that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope your sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong, as we can clearly see, we're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.